So, yes, I like to play sports. I like to go to different restaurants. By the shape of my body, you guys can guess which one I do more. So obviously it's the working out. So I'm very blessed to be here. I want to tell you that my legs are killing me just because my wife has convinced me. Do you guys know what 9 rounds is? Like the new 9 rounds kickboxing fitness or whatever. She's like, oh, they have a promotion. I'm like, of course. She's like, we can never afford it if it wasn't a regular price. Let's do it together as couple and whatever. I'm like, fine, whatever. So we do it. We went twice up to now. We just signed up like 2 days ago, and my legs are killing me. So if I collapse here, you know why. It's not because I fainted. It's just because my legs are burning up. So this topic, life through death. And so I got so I'm the warm-up to like the real talk. The real talk is when Dr. George arrives. You'll see this tomorrow, God willing. So tonight we'll be a little bit light, hopefully. But tonight we're going to talk about why life. There was a first grader that went up to his mother and he said, "Mom, where did I come from?" So the mom started to get a little bit sweaty. And she kind of rolled up her sleeves, and she's like, "Okay, son." She sat the son down, grade 1. And she started talking about, like, the reproduction system and all of these things, the birds and the bees. And she went on for a half hour. The kid was bored to death, looked at Mom and said, "Oh, that's nice, Mom. Jimmy comes from California." So sometimes this question about why life could be asked, like we might be answering the wrong question, but this question comes up quite a bit. It may come up in different forms, but it comes up quite a bit. If you've ever asked yourself the question, what's my purpose in life? It's the same question about why life. If you ask about, does my life have any type of meaning? Again, you're asking the question, why life? And this is really one of the toughest questions. This is one of the toughest questions. Is it the up? Down. The down. We're going to get there. One of the toughest questions that we need to ask ourselves. And the thing is our destiny is shaped by the questions that we're willing to ask ourselves. This past week we were at the grad meeting at St. Mark's, and we were speaking about like our destiny. Our destiny, and we spoke about obedience, but we spoke more about the questions that we're willing to ask ourselves in life. And depending on those answers, your destiny will be shaped. So St. Mary, for instance, she had a question in her life, which was a tough question. Will I accept the will of God in my life? Yes or no? And according to her answer, her destiny was changed. St. Joseph, the same thing. Was he willing to obey what the angel was saying, even though it didn't make sense? And depending on his answer, his destiny was changed. The same for us. We are going to ask ourselves lots of hard questions, or we should be asking ourselves lots of hard questions. And depending on the answer that we're willing to give, those answers will shape our life. Back to the question about why life. Honestly, when Aki kind of sent me the talks, I was like, I wish I said no, like, to be honest. Because I asked myself and I said, like, I didn't really, honestly, I said, who cares? This is what I said to myself. I was like, who cares? And I went to my wife and said, Amira, like, this is the topic. And she's like, I'm like, why life? Give me something. Amira, give me something. And she said, why not? Like, I'm like, that's not going to fly. Like, we have to fill like 30 minutes. Like, I can't fill 30 minutes with just, why not? It doesn't work that way. So then, obviously, I ran into a dead end, so I asked Google. So I said, hey Google, what's the meaning of life? Have you guys ever done that? Hey Google, what's the meaning of life? So, here are the couple of questions, here are the couple of answers that Google gave me, and we'll go with that. I said, hey Google, what's the meaning of life? First it said 42. No. It said 42. I didn't know what that means, but that came up a couple of times in 42.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay, so yeah, whatever she said. Yeah. So then I asked it again, and it said, oh, that's a tough one. Can I call a friend? And then she said, well, maybe that's the meaning of life, that you should connect with your friends. And then I asked again, and I said, Google, what's the meaning of life? And it answered, it said, it's probably something to do with love and cookies. And I thought that was a really good answer. Because really, it comes down like, I don't think tonight anybody's going to walk out of here with, like, whoa, I didn't really know that. I think it's just like a reminder of what really life is and why do we have life. In Ecclesiastes, the most wise person in the Bible was King Solomon. And King Solomon went around and asked what is the meaning of life. And a lot of times he got to a point that he couldn't figure out what the meaning of life is. How can one discover the meaning of life? It says, as for that which is far off and exceedingly deep, who can find that out? And it's true, the meaning of life is very deep. And how can we find this out? But it's important for us to understand that there is a meaning to life. I could just say, like I did at the beginning, and say, well, I don't care. I don't care what life is. When I say that, there's a couple of problems that happen. Is that it turns into that life seems useless. Life seems useless. Like, if my life doesn't have a meaning, then it's useless. Then I wake up in the morning, or I don't wake up in the morning. Who cares? Who cares at this point? So it seems like life is useless when we don't understand why life. What is the meaning of life? It also seems like life is tiresome. I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes I get into this like routine in life. And it's the same old every morning. I wake up at 7:15, and then I have breakfast, and I go to work, and I come back from work, I play with the kids or yell at the kids, whatever, they're both the same sometimes. And then I go to bed, or watch my sports nets and go to bed. And then the next day is the same thing. It's just this like rotation. And Solomon gives us a lot of examples in his book about this, and he says like the cycle of weather. He says like how the rain, life is like rain, and it evaporates, and then it kind of rains again. So it's just this big cycle, and it just seems so tiresome when we don't understand the meaning of life. It also feels very unfulfilling. No matter how much we see, we're never satisfied. It seems like if I don't understand the meaning of life, then I can't get no satisfaction. Who sings that song? Come on. I don't know. Mick Jagger, yes. Mick Jagger. Seems like I can't get any satisfaction when I don't understand the meaning of life. It also could be very insignificant. Life could seem very insignificant. Insignificant. If I don't know, if I'm not here for a purpose, then who cares? Then who cares what I do? Whether I treat this person nicely or poorly, it's insignificant. It doesn't matter. Because life just seems so insignificant. Life seems uncontrollable. When we don't understand the meaning of life and why we are here, then it seems uncontrollable. How many of us have said, like, man, that's just out of my control. Out of my control. I can't do anything about it. Life seems so out of our control when we don't understand the meaning of life. You can't straighten something that is crooked. You can never bring that thing back to being so straight. It's uncontrollable. It's out of my control. Solomon concludes at the end that the purpose of life, he is saying that there is no purpose in life. But there is, he didn't say that there's no purpose in life, but it's like everything that we are running after is vanity of vanities. It's like chasing after the wind. But there is a deep purpose to life. There's three options that we could do when we don't understand life. The three options are: you can make something up, you can escape, or you could discover. You can make something up. A lot of people go this route. A lot of people go this route and say, I'll just make something up. We need something at the center of our life. We need something to be there. And if it's not going to be God, then it's going to be something else. A lot of people, I've heard people come up to me and say, hey, by the age of 40, I'm going to be a millionaire. What do you think the center of their life was? Money. Money and work. That's all it was. That was their center of their life. Why? I'm not saying they were bad people. I'm not saying becoming a millionaire is a bad thing. What I'm saying is that when we don't know the true meaning of life, we will start to make up a meaning for it. We want to set things, we want something to be our center. We want something to be our center. Three of the greatest Western minds, Freud and Darwin and all of this, said the same thing. They said that we all came from nothing and that we're going to nothing. That basically we're just an accident. We are an accident. We came from nothing and we're going to nothing. So really life doesn't really mean anything. And then humanism kind of came into place. And then humanism says, well, wait a second. Yes, you didn't come from anything. Or we came from like this blob of germs. And then we evolved into this. But we came from nothing and we're not going anywhere. But meanwhile, while you're on earth, your life means something. Intellectually, that doesn't make sense. If you came from nothing and you're going to nothing, why would the middle mean something? Why would the middle mean something? If there is no God, no eternity, no day of accounting, then basically what we are is just complex germs. That's what we are. If there's no other meaning other than that, if we didn't come from anything, and if we're not going anywhere, then we're just complex germs. That's making up something. Making something the center, whether it's your work, whether it's your money, whatever it is. The other is that we escape. If life has no meaning, then we just escape. We use TV maybe, and we become like these couch potatoes. Or we use, sex, food, drugs, whatever you want to kind of like make you feel good. We want to escape. We want to escape that there might be something greater. That there might be something that you and I are called to be greater. And that may take us out of our comfort zone, so we want to escape it. We want to escape it. And how do we escape it? We escape it with TV and sex and food and drugs and movies. And the ultimate escape, unfortunately, is suicide. We just say, my life is worth nothing. So we take our lives. We take our lives. And you see this nowadays, that like shows are more and more like around this. Like, I don't know if you guys watched 13 Reasons, but I watched it in a, like, I wanted to open my eyes to this. And it really did open my eyes to a lot of things. But the thing is that this is an escape. I know, I'm not saying everybody that commits suicide is just escaping. But what I'm saying is that when we don't understand the true meaning of our life and the reason and the purpose that we're here, then it's easy for us to go number two and say we're going to escape. Whether it's going to be TV, whether it's going to be through friendships, we're going to escape. The counsel of the Lord stands forever. The plan of his heart is to all generation. There is counsel. There is counsel, and this is where we lead to discover. The third option that you have when we don't understand the meaning of life is that we discover it. We discover it. In Ephesians 1:4 it says, long ago, even before he had made the world, God chose you to be his very own through what Christ would do for us with his love. His unchanging plan was always to adopt us into his own family by sending us Jesus to die for us. And he did this because he wanted to. This is like a paraphrase of our word. So what is the point of life? What is the point of God creating the world? Creating you and me? it comes down to what Google said, which is love, not the cookies part. Cookies are great. We love cookies. I'm a big cookie fan. But it comes down to love. And again, I'm not trying to shock you guys into like what the meaning of life is. Or why life. Why life? Because God created us in a way, God created us to love us. God is love. It's not God has love. If I have love, and I don't have anybody to give it to, then that's a disaster. But He is love. He is love, and He wanted creatures to love. He created us just to love us, to adopt us and to put us in His family. I have made you for my glory. This is what He says in Isaiah 43. God first made you and I to love us. This was the first part. The second part is that He wanted to adopt us into His family. So how do I do this? So let's take a little step back. I wanted to put a video up, but I'm just going to give you the illustration. You guys know who Francis Chan is? Okay, he has a really nice illustration. Type it in on YouTube one time. It's called the rope illustration. And he has this rope that is just like a long rope. We can't see the end of the rope. And then on the rope, he has like this little part that is red. And he says, this little part is your time on earth, your life here on earth. And we spend so much time here, but we keep forgetting about like the rest of eternity. The rest of eternity. The point of life is that we get that God wants to love us, but also that we get to know Him and that we love Him. So how do we do this? Is that we put our trust in Him, and the first thing that we do is that we get to know Him. St. Nicholas says, if a person wants to get an idea about the pyramids of Egypt, he must either trust those who have been in immediate proximity to the pyramids, or he must get next to them himself. There is no third option. In the same way, a person can get an impression of God. He must either trust those who have stood and stand in immediate proximity to God, and he must take pain, or he must take pain to come into such proximity himself. Look, the reality is nobody could force you into a relationship with God. Nobody could give you this special formula to say, do 1, 2, 3, and you're in a relationship with God, and you are good. And unfortunately, we have, over the past years, created a certain type of checklists for ourselves to say that, yes, this is how I'm going to get close to God. I'm going to read my Agbeya, and I'm going to read my Bible in 1 year, and I'm going to go to confession, and I'm going to have communion. Those things I'm going to do. And if I do those things, and if I'm able to check this off, then I'm going to get to know God, and I will be with God. I will have a relationship with God. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm not saying those things are bad. But to have the motivation behind it, which is a checklist type motivation, that we are living this performance-based type of religion, that's wrong. Because that's not what we're called to. Life is not about performance. Yes, our jobs are about performance. You need to do well in your work. I agree with that. But when it comes to God, it's not, in your church, it's not about performance. It's about relationship. This is what He wants. And this is the first point, is that we need to get to know Him. And to trust Him in every step that we take. Meaning, why life? Why? To get to know Him. To get to know Him. Because He knows you. You know, when we hear the verses that say, sorry, I was going to say the verse of how many hairs on your head, and then I saw Aki, and I'm like, he's out of luck. Like, I'm just saying, I have a little bit more. I'm just saying. But you know, we hear those beautiful verses like, He knows the number of hairs that are on your head. Do we believe that? Do we live in that's how intimate He is with us. Yet we take like an approach that no, that's impossible. Why would he want to do that? And that's why I loved the video. And actually, I didn't see the video before right now. And the Spirit is working because there's a message that needs to get across to every single one of us here, which is that message of that video. If you leave this retreat with one message, that's the message of the video. The message of the video is that we live this life of guilt, of that we've done stuff in the past and whatever. So there's no way that God, if I ask you, is God capable of knowing the number of hairs on your head? I don't think anybody would doubt that. I don't think anybody doubts that he's capable of doing that. I think we doubt more is that, does he really want to do it for me? I'm this scrunched up $20 bill that got stepped on. Does he really want to do that for me? We can't leave. Don't leave this retreat if you're feeling any sort of guilt or any sort of less of value. You are precious because you are his daughter. You are precious because you are his son. And we need to understand that. And that's why the first purpose or the meaning of life is to get to know him. Because once you get to know him, you understand that your value. You understand where you come from. You understand who you belong to. It's important for us to understand that. And I like this quote from St. Nicholas because it kind of like also expresses the church. Like some people say, well, I don't really need the church. No, you do. Because it's giving you two options here. And any smart person would bet on both options. Like if I want to get close to God, then I'm going to do both of these. I'm going to get close to somebody that's in proximity with God and get like as much knowledge and as much experiences that I can from this person. But I'm also going to do the latter, which is I'm going to accept pain to come into such proximity. And I like the word that it has pain there. Because it's not about, trust me, after this 9 rounds, 2 days, my legs are numb type. There's pain. But I'm looking forward, for those that came late, I'm working out. That's just in case you know. Like the pain, I'm hoping that it's going to pay off. No, I know that it's going to pay off. That I'm going to stand on the scale, I'm going to be like, oh, I lost whatever. I don't need to lose that much, like 25 pounds, whatever. Get to know him. Get to know him. 2 is to become like Christ. To become like Christ. This is one of our, like, from the very beginning, this is what he had planned. He made us in his image and his likeness. He wants us to become like him. This is why we're here on earth. It's almost like this, like a preschool. Like, we're getting ready for heaven. He wants us to be like him. Then God said, let us make man in our own image according to our likeness. According to our likeness. We are here on earth. We're here on earth to become more and more like Christ. To have his character. To have his integrity. To have his honesty. To have his forgiveness. His thankfulness. His love. His joy. You name it. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. From the very beginning, Genesis 1, that's that was the message. And that's what his intention was. Are you guys shocked by this? No, you shouldn't be shocked by this. Because if you picked up your Bible once, we all always start at Genesis 1. And we end at Genesis 2, but whatever. We got through Genesis 1, so at least we read one chapter. Genesis 1 is saying, this is it. Yes, we've screwed it up by allowing sin to come into the world and into our life. Yes, okay. But that doesn't mean we can't become like him. Every single day, every single moment, you and I have an opportunity. You and I have an opportunity to become more and more like Christ. But doesn't God want me to be happy? Not on account of your eternity. Not on account of your eternity. Sure, you want to be comfortable? Be comfortable. But he doesn't care so much about your comfort. He cares a lot more about your character. Your character is what God cares about. And this is what the meaning of life is. Why life? Why life is to become like Christ. Again, I'm not trying to shock you guys with anything here. It's to become like Christ. Why life is serving. If anyone serves me, let him follow me. And where I am, there my servant will be also. If anyone serves me, him my Father will honor. There's a huge fulfillment in serving. I'm sure many of you are serving, whether formally or informally, you are serving. And you know that there is a huge fulfillment and a meaning behind it. And a lot of times, I don't know if you've ever said this, but like when you do a service, how many people have been on a mission trip? Like outside of North America, let's say. Or even in North America, if you went to Ireland. I know Miss Saga goes to Ireland. Yeah, right? So how many, those that went on mission have uttered these words? We thought we were going to serve, but at the end, we were the ones that got served. You guys agree with me? Who went on those trips? Yes, absolutely. Last year, I went on my first, outside of North America, trip to Bolivia. And truly, that's what was happening. And we took, high schoolers. We took high schoolers there. And it changed their life when they were there. When they came back, whatever. Everything out the window. But it changed their life when they were there. It was great. But that's the thing, is they high schoolers uttered those words. They thought, we thought we were going for we were going to be the big heroes and whatever. But they got fulfilled by what? By serving. It's important for us to serve. In Ephesians 2:12 it says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works." For good works. It doesn't say to make as much money as you can. It doesn't say to get the highest position in my company. It doesn't say that. For good works, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. That we should walk in them. If you try to save your life, you will lose it. But if you give your life away, you will find it. You will find it. Giving our life is serving others. Is being aware of other people's needs. Sorry, we have become like a society that is so self-centered. We are so selfish. So selfish. And I see it, I'll be honest, I see it in my kids. Where's the sensitivity? What's happening? What are you watching on YouTube to make you you don't care about this person that's in the street, or you don't care about your family member that's that just lost a loved one or whatever? What is happening? Where's that sensitivity? That sensitivity needs to come back. And this is the generation that needs to bring it back. We need to bring back sensitivity to North America. And we can't just say, we're a small group. Who cares if we're a small group? Christianity was spread throughout the world by 12 disciples. That's how it started. Obviously, there was more after that. But it started with 12. So we can't sit back here and say, the world, that's just the way the world is now, or Ontario, and we just need to accept things and become insensitive like everyone else because we need to survive. We're not here to survive. We're here to live. Why life is to serve others. Christians and non-Christians, people that you encounter, formally serve in your churches, informally serve outside of your churches. Just serve. Give your life to others. Bring back sensitivity. Bring back that others are first. Others are first. In Matthew 25 it says, "You have been faithful in few things, you will be faithful in much." In much. It's just the small things. We don't have to do gigantic things. It could be as simple as helping somebody across the street. It could be as a smile that you give someone. It's very simple to serve. It's very simple to serve, but we have overcomplicated it. Secularism, that term, means basically to live for the now, the here and now. The Latin word is something. but it's something, which just means the here and now. Secularism is the here and now. Do you want to live for the here and now, or do you want to live for eternity? Do you want to build your life for eternity, or do you want to live the here and now? You live the here and now, yes. By how? By serving, because you're preparing for eternity. So yes, we're going to serve. I'm here now, right? So we're serving now. We're going to have fellowship now, the here and now. But what are we going to do with that time? Serving one another. The last one is share your life's purpose with others. In 2 Corinthians 5 it says, "Now all things are of God, who has reconciled us to himself through Jesus Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation." Do you see this? Like, don't miss this part. He has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their trespasses to them, and has committed to us the word of reconciliation. This is a direct command to you and I. That's something that God has given us and entrusted us. The ministry of reconciliation. The word of reconciliation. Are you going out and sharing the purpose of life? Are you going out and are you sharing the good news? Are you sharing this with others? Why life? Is because of this. Because so many people need that push. People in this room and people outside of this room need to understand that God has come and that God has reconciled heaven on earth. That God has given us the opportunity to live forever, to have eternity with Him. This is what God has given us. Share life's purpose with others. Share life's purpose with others. The greatest waste of your life, your entire life, without ever, not sharing the purpose, or not sharing the purpose of life, is the greatest waste of life. It's actually, the greater is knowing your purpose and not sharing it. Knowing your purpose and not sharing it. Well, you and I are called to this. To commit. He has committed to us the word of reconciliation. Now, in order for us to be able to share this, we need to be reconciled. And a lot of us are holding on to, I'm not speaking to this person because they said this or that. Reconcile with one another. Because that is preventing you from sharing the purpose of life. Why life? Because of these 4 reasons. Nothing earth-shattering. I have to admit, I didn't know what approach to take when I got the note of this is going to be the topic. But I felt like God needed to speak to me directly. And this is, I've shared this before. God, when He wants to change something in me, what He does is He does this. He says, go spend a few hours preparing a topic. So you get the idea. This is mainly for me at first. And I wanted to just share this with you guys because I think we overcomplicate things sometimes. We overcomplicate things. Why life and why... honestly, there are people in this room that could give a much better definition and a much better presentation about why life. Guaranteed. And when Dr. George comes, you could ask him, everything that... Don't worry, I'll be gone, so I won't be offended. So you guys can ask him all you... But honestly, this is for me, it's okay for us to bring back things to a simplistic level. Can we repeat all 4? We have all 4? What do we need to... Why life? Give me a reason. Love, okay. So we're going to have 5, okay? 6 with cookies, okay? So we've got love and cookies. What else? What was the first one? Get to know God, absolutely. Number 2? What is it? Become like Christ, absolutely. Number 3? Serve. Number 4 is on the screen. All right, God bless you guys.
Hey guys, does anyone have any of us have the dilemma at work about sharing our faith and our religion.